I did nothing. The pavement was his enemy. I'm Liam, he's Rob, and welcome to Here You Go Podcast. This week, we take a look back at a movie I must have seen 50 times as a kid, but I haven't rewatched in near enough 20 years. Ivan Reitman's finest comedy collaboration with Arnold Schwarzenegger might have received a mixed critical response, but it was a huge box office smash and has proved massively popular with the moviegoers in the decades since its original release. But what about in 2024? Does Twins still hold up, or does its unique and aggressively 80s brand of heartfelt action comedy feel a tad old-fashioned now? Rob, what say you?
I mean, it is old-fashioned, isn't it? I don't want to say I struggled with this film. I mean, there were times where I thought there's just nothing happening. I mean, and then you get DeVito and Schwarzenegger together, and that's when the magic happens.
Yeah.
Or you get who last week I wrongly called fucking Kelly LeBrock. Kelly Preston rocks up, and you realize, Jesus Christ, yeah, I'm in now.
Oh
I mean,
my
she
God.
is smoking in this, isn't she?
She is, she
Yeah.
was top peak, like 80s crush for me. And don't get me wrong, she is swimming upstream with that fucking haircut. And there's a few terrible bonnets in this film, but she overcomes it spectacularly. Like how she's so hot with that hair is testament to her hotness. But to back up what you said there, it's an odd one going back to it because I loved this movie as a kid. And I think the reason it has aged to a certain extent is because this movie doesn't get made like this anymore. Like this movie doesn't really exist. And I think it's because modern movies would lean too much into irony, or they would feel the need of this is like a quote unquote action comedy. They're like,
Yeah.
we've got to up the action quotient. Whereas this film, for the most part, and I think the reason it still works, despite its faults, and it does have some pacing issues. And again, if you're waiting for something to happen, it kind of never does. But and I guess maybe the biggest issue some people would have is the fact that it's not actually that funny. Like it's not the kind of movie you kind of guffaw at.
I
But
did
what
not
it
laugh out loud. I didn't chuckle.
Mhm.
I just found myself just, I guess, sailing through this film. I don't even know
But
if
it's
anything really stood out to me.
I totally agree with you, but it is a pleasant sail, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. Like
no, I get you.
what it is,
It's
what it
it's
lacks in.
charming.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. Instead of like funny, it's more charming and likable. And it's got tons of heart. Again, that comes back to the irony thing. And I think if you made this today, the heart would be very much ripped out of this movie.
Can I stop you there? Likable, right?
Mhm.
Speaking of likable, is Danny DeVito a bit much in this film? Like he
He,
feels a tad too much. Like he's swinging for the fences, and sometimes I'm not sure it works. And
I think he needs to go big though. And you got to remember, he's like in the long line of massive 80s assholes. Like when I think of him, what I think of is like Tom Cruise in Rain Man. Like he's that kind of asshole. And obviously, like he needs to be a big enough asshole for him to have that redemption arc. Because, like you said, not much else happens. Like
but that's it.
Arnie kind
Another.
of goes on a journey, but the movie is actually probably more DeVito's than it is Schwarzenegger's.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But another thing is, he doesn't really redeem himself.
No,
Right up
no,
to the end, he
I know.
steals a million, doesn't tell Julius about the million.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he's
yeah.
stolen that anyway. And then they've gone back to what I can only assume is this weird ad agency furniture restaurant, all those things he had on
I
his
don't know what
door.
that business is, but it doesn't matter because, like you said, he skimmed a million off the top. And I refuse to believe, although I got to be honest, I'm not sure if I ever noticed the whole 4 million versus 5 million thing at the end of the film. But he is sitting next to Arnold Schwarzenegger is Julius, right? I'm not
Yeah,
mixing those two up.
yeah. Julius.
Julius. Julius is, for all intents and purposes, a genius. Like he must, like that doesn't just kind of wash over him. He must know that he stole a million. And of course, for most
Well,
of the
no,
film, you're like,
they
oh well,
never told
Julius.
Julius. He never told Julius it was 5 million.
Oh,
Nowhere in
maybe
any
not.
way, shape, or form did he tell Julius it was 5 million because Julius only found out about the money right at the end.
Oh
And then
yeah,
there was the
fair
money
enough,
in the
fair enough.
suitcase. And then when what was his name, West or Watson or Webster? When Webster said,
Webster.
"I want my money," they never actually
Mhm.
said, "I want my 5 million. I just want my money."
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good
Yeah,
point. But then the thing is, we're talking like this is like the late 80s. This is peak capitalism. And maybe most people would be like, listen, he had to take at least a million. Like I know he's had a bit of a character arc and he's got the whole weird thing with his mum now. And I just be clear, I don't like the fact that they keep calling their mother Mama. Like
Mama.
that just creeps me. That creeps me out almost as much as the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger's milk with his dinner. Another completely egregious decision I can't
I mean, there's
overlook.
a lot
This
of
is
things
a
that
this is
creep.
a lot of Rob stuff here.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of things that creep me out about Schwarzenegger. If you want to get into that, Like, what did I put in here? How many takes did they do on the
Mhm.
plane so Arnie could just stare down her dress again? Because there was more than one. I had to
Well,
think there was more than one.
maybe, but I think they actually lowballed all that, no pun intended. I mean, Dr. Werner's morals, and I assume he's a doctor, but I'm not sure if we have anything to back this up on the island, keeps Schwarzenegger on that island until he is 35 years
Yeah,
old. So he
yeah.
has never seen a woman. And the first woman he ostensibly sees is that smoking hot air hostess. Dude, like, I'm surprised he didn't just fuck her on the spot.
Well, there
You've
were
got
a couple of
35 years of pent up sexual aggression.
women on the island, mind. I mean, they weren't Arnie's age or anything, but there were women on the island.
With that
There
woman,
was
well,
there was a woman who
they,
waved to him with Dr. Werner.
oh,
Also,
maybe.
let's before we get totally into it,
Mhm.
this whole lie about them being dead. So Mitchell Traven, I think that was the doctor, wasn't it? Dr. Traven,
Traven.
Craven, sorry. He lied to Mary Ann Benedict that Julius had died. And
Mhm.
apparently she didn't.
To Heather Graham, you mean?
Yeah, Heather Graham. Yeah,
Which
I
I
wrote that
never
down.
noticed
No,
before
I
until
never.
this time. Never
Why
noticed
would
it.
you though? Because it was a very young Heather Graham. You
Yeah,
wouldn't
but
have known her in the 90s.
I'm sure I've seen this movie like post, I don't know, The Spy Who Shagged Me. But for one reason or another, I just never fucking noticed it. But hey.
But yeah, so there's been a lot of lying in regards
Mhm,
to that. Everyone's saying like Julius has been told his mother died. They were
mhm,
told that the mum, she was told that Julius died. Nobody knew about Vincent. He was just chucked straight into a home. So
mhm.
is Werner good or evil? Was he told that Julius and the mother had died, so you take him to the island? Or was he told to take him to the island? Because why did they do this experiment?
Mhm,
Then
mhm.
just to move Julius to an island for 35 years and not do anything else with him. They did nothing else with him.
Well, yeah, but you're not thinking about the other side of this story. And the real question is so, I mean, I'm surprised you're asking if Dr. Werner is a bad guy for that reason. If you stop and think
It's a
of
super soldier program.
it's, I mean, it's
Mm.
eugenics. It's
Yeah.
questionable genetic engineering. This is the movie that they would have made in Berlin in 1988 if the Nazis had won the Second World War. And they'd make a big, oh, we made our super soldier, but look, it's a little fat one. He didn't work out so well for him. He looks a little Turkish or something, something super racist and horrible. And I'm just like, I'd never really thought about it, but as soon as the movie started, I was like, man, this is some fucking
Yeah.
dark shit. This is,
Sponsored by the US government, best
yeah.
scientific minds. You took the best bodies they could find, put them into one hot Heather Graham, and then
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
well, you mix the soup around and see what you get, and you get Julius. But what I don't understand, those babies both look the same. So how did they know Julius was the good
Oh,
one
no, no,
and
no. I
Vincent?
mean, when they're laying next to each other, the blonde Arnold Schwarzenegger baby looks twice the size of the other baby. He looks ginormous.
I didn't
Oh,
see him lying down. I must have
he's
turned
got a,
away
oh, he's got a
because when they're
fucking
holding them
melon
next
on.
to each other, they're just
Oh, the bit when they're laying next to each other, and the joke is Danny DeVito's baby version of him kicks Arnold
it's yeah.
Schwarzenegger, and they start crying. He does look twice the size of that bloody
I tell you,
baby.
do you know what they said? They said that Julius got everything and
Mhm.
Danny DeVito got the crap.
Oh yeah, in one of the
Apparently,
harshest speeches in movie history, by the way.
apparently not all of the crap though, because every woman loves DeVito. And like to the like he fucked his
Mhm.
nun. He fucked the hot nun at 12 years of age.
Well, this is a long-standing history of Danny DeVito in movies, where, let's be clear, he is a strange-looking man, but he is always portrayed as something of a master coxman on screen, and I don't know what it is. But the weird thing is, and I think we mentioned on a previous podcast, and I can't remember what movie it was, but it was another DeVito movie. And for some odd reason, it just works. You just believe it. Like we should look at this and be like, wait, this dude is like nailing all these women. And let's be clear, he's the one dumping all of them as well. Like, what is it? He
We
sleeps with Linda. Agnes next door. He hits that ass as well.
yeah.
And clearly he's left all of them. None of those have left him. So I don't know if he's got like a magic dick or something. But like I said, in all these movies where he's a charmer and he's always standing next to some really hot, like, female companion, it never feels out of place. And it must be just the inherent on screen, persona and charm of Danny
I'm
DeVito that we just completely buy into this. But it's
I'm
bizarre.
trying to think of the Danny DeVito film you said where he's as you eloquently put Coxman because
Mhm.
the only other two films that off the top of my mind that we've done for Danny DeVito were Batman Returns. Well, he ain't getting any in that.
Maybe it was
And
Romancing the Stone.
Romancing the Stone, he was a sweaty little dude who got no women. He was just chasing.
What was I thinking? Maybe it wasn't when we did on the podcast. Maybe
And
it was just
I'm looking through his back catalogue, and no film off the top of my head am I looking through has he been getting women. So I'm wondering where you're
Oh
getting
no,
this from. So,
maybe I'm thinking
I
War of the
mean,
Roses
Throw Mama
because
from the Train, Ruthless People. I haven't seen War of the Roses, so
oh,
maybe it's
I
that
think
one.
it might be War of the
I
Roses.
mean, Other People's Money, Hoffa, Jack the Bear, Look Who's Talking Now, Renaissance Man, Junior, Get Shorty. I mean, he's not getting any women in these
Well,
films. So I don't.
he's not like a player or anything, but I just think like he's often standing next to more attractive women.
Yeah, but anyone could do that. Anyone could
Yeah, but you
stand.
know what I mean? They're suggesting that he's involved. But it's interesting that you bring up Batman Returns, because in many respects, this actually feels like a bit of a dry run for Batman Returns. If you think about like the idea that he was abandoned as a child, instead of Cobblepot, like he doesn't turn into a penguin, but he just turns into a nasty piece of work instead. But it's
Yeah.
actually a very similar story. Like he's born, the parents are disappointed, and they have like certain expectations because he has his web fingers. In this case, he has all the kind of genetic shit left over from Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's duly abandoned and becomes the person he has. Although I would actually say, and this won't work necessarily for our American listeners, is that in terms of a character comparison, the one that kept jumping out to me was actually Del Boy from Only Fools and Horses.
Yeah.
I was amazed how much he reminded me of that character. And again, Del Boy, a similar thing, not the most attractive guy, short fellow and stuff, but always got this feeling he was kind of doing okay with the ladies. Or maybe I'm just kind of overplaying that. I don't
I'm
know.
Speaking of DeVito as well. I'm not a huge fan of ponytails on men. I just don't
Oh,
think it works.
dude. I mean, you're saying that like that's a questionable statement. Ponytails on men are fucking
Yeah.
unforgivable.
So okay, ponytails on men don't work. But I'm all right with him with the ponytail because when he takes his hair out with the ponytail just before he sleeps with his missus, if
Wonderful,
I was his missus, what was her name? Linda.
Linda.
If I was Linda, I'd be saying, "Do me a favor, tie your hair up." Like fucking hell.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he's going for. Again, it's the 80s, but aesthetically, we've already mentioned, the hair being there's some strange choices made. I was actually trying to figure out if Arnold Schwarzenegger wearing a blazer, a t-shirt, and a pair of shorts with high socks and a pair of Converse was trying to suggest, oh, look, this guy is out of place. He doesn't belong in America. Or if it was just, oh, this is 1988. And the more I watch the movie, the more I think it's just 1988, dude.
Dude, 2018, that's how I got married.
Fantastic.
Blazer
Fantastic.
shorts. Remember blazer shorts? And I didn't have the
Yeah.
Converse. I had the
Yeah.
sketches. Like I think I text you, and we usually don't talk about the films in the week until we get on. But I text you and said, I'm a massive fan of that look. Like the blazer and the shorts and I mean, the socks were a bit too high. Roll the socks down. That's the only thing I had a problem with.
I can't say
He,
I completely, agree with the idea of a
he
suit
was like a
jacket with shorts,
cholo.
mate.
He was like a
Yeah, a
cholo
little
from
bit.
the waist down, and then a businessman from the waist up. I'm all for that look.
I mean, fair, but I mean, let's be clear though. Like everything about this was actually a big swing for Schwarzenegger. It's easy to kind of like look back in and out because it was such a big hit, but it's like, we've talked about before, like the difference between say like Schwarzenegger and modern action stars. The obvious one being The Rock, and the big thing obviously was a different time. But I don't give The Rock a free pass because if anyone in like the late noughties, sorry, the late teens going into the early 2020s could get away with just making a movie where his name is above the poster, it was arguably The Rock. Whereas Schwarzenegger had this like emphasis about I want to work with interesting directors, and he's coming off what a run of the Conan, the Terminator, Commando, Raw Deal, Predator, The Running Man, Red Heat, and then he's like, I'm going to do a fucking comedy, and again, like that was a massive shout in '88, and my fucking god, does it pay off? I mean, Schwarzenegger is a massive fan of this film, and for good reason, because of as they couldn't pay him or DeVito the standard kind of rates they'd expect like upfront for this movie, they both took a very what I consider a modern cut of the gross, which is
Yeah,
what
the
people
way he
take
did that was
nowadays.
really good. Yeah.
So he made more from Twins than he did from any Terminator movie. He made 35 million and said it was the best decision he ever made because he got 20% of not just the cinema, but the rental returns, which back in the like late 80s, early 90s for a film like this was massive. Because I assume, same as you, I rented this film so many fucking times when I was younger. It was just one of those like maybe 15, 20 films, which was just kind of never far away from being rented again. So
Dude,
yeah, Schwarzenegger made
never
a
rented
mint
it.
from this. Oh, that's
Never
insane.
rented it. I first saw it on BBC One, probably
Oh,
next
really?
to Kindergarten Cop. Yeah, never. I haven't watched it as much as you. I think I've only watched it twice before, and then this will be my third viewing. It
Oh,
wasn't that. It
this
wasn't
was
that big for me.
massive.
Do you
This was
know?
massive when I was younger.
Do you know? You just said that they made the right choice. Like they made the
Mhm.
right choice with taking the percentage instead of taking
Oh, yeah, of
an
course, yeah,
actual.
yeah.
They also made that right choice. I'm going to guess with the choice of film
Hmm.
because there's a legend, but it might not be a legend because it's told by the other actor, but it's also told by
Hmm.
Danny DeVito and uh, Schwarzenegger that they had a choice of two films, and
Hmm.
whatever film they didn't choose would go to another person and another
Hmm.
actor. So if they didn't choose twins,
Hmm.
they would have chosen instead Suburban Commando, which means twins would have gone to Hulk Hogan and Christopher Lloyd.
I mean, like the thing is, the big issue, right? I actually think they could make Suburban Commando work because I think rather than the concept, I think it's the talent involved. So if you took Ivan Reitman,
Yeah,
you moved him
I
over to Suburban Commando, you bring in Schwarzenegger and DeVito, I think that movie totally works and is
yeah,
actually probably
you can
good.
see Schwarzenegger as the space age.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, can you see Hulk Hogan as Julius
No.
and Christopher Lloyd as
Well, the problem is,
Vincent?
I can see Hulk Hogan as Julius. I totally can, but I don't like they don't look different enough. That's the problem. And one of the reasons, again, this works so well is that it's perfectly cast, and you will. I just don't think you'll ever find a greater aesthetic disparity between two actors without diluting on-screen presence or comedy chops. That film would have the issue of one, the disparity isn't nearly as dramatic because what's his name? Not Hulk Hogan, the other one, Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd,
Like
yeah.
he's a tall fucking dude as well. Like they look like they might actually be brothers. It's not that much of a fucking stretch. Whereas in this, of course, the great joke, you put it on the poster, twins. You don't need to explain it. You're like, oh, look at those. They're not fucking twins. The only way they could top it, and they obviously planned with twins two, whatever the fuck they were going to call it,
Triplets,
triplets, obviously twins
triplets. Yeah.
two, dumbass, was to have a black guy in it. So yeah, I actually think in a world where they go and you take the three of them, specifically the three of them, the director as well, you have them do Suburban Commando. I'm all on board with that. I just think the twins is just completely underwhelming.
Yeah, I totally like. I thought it would have been weird. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Hulk Hogan acting anyway, so
I mean, I like Hulk Hogan, but I'm just saying,
I
imagine the
can't
poster.
stand the guy. I
So you
can't
see
stand him.
twins, the poster, and it's Christopher Lloyd leaning up against Hulk Hogan. You're just like, well, they don't look like twins, but they're probably brothers. It just looks like one of them works out. That's it. It
It'd be
doesn't fucking
Christopher
work.
Lloyd. It'd be Christopher Lloyd with his elbow on
Yeah,
Hulk
he might
Hogan's head
actually
or
be.
something. Yeah.
Christopher Lloyd's like fucking
Mm.
6'2". I don't. Anyway, that one isn't fucking working for me. But there you go.
What was I? What else
Well,
did I have
because
written
we were
down?
talking about the cast there. It's probably a disservice not to mention the supporting cast of this film because Marshall Bell is the hitman. He doesn't get enough screen time, but he's really fucking good. David Caruso as the eager to get caught parking attendant. I mean,
Al
Jesus Christ,
Greco.
dude. How the fuck does he not think, all right, this is going to end in tears eventually if cars under his watch keep getting fucking stolen? Heather
I mean,
Graham is the mum.
he's giving those cars away a lot, isn't he? Let's be fair.
Far too much, far too much. A blink and you'll miss it. I think his name's Kari Horiyuki Tarawa,
Thank
who's
you. I had that
Oriental
written down.
Man.
He is literally, yeah, Oriental Man. I had that written down.
Wonder you do not get that after the 80s, do you? Just Oriental Man. And I know Chloe Webb, who obviously plays Danny DeVito's love interest in this film. Did you? I never noticed the fact that she plays the Valentine's Day end of the world lady from Ghostbusters 2. Never noticed that they're the same people.
No, I didn't see it.
You know, from the start of the film
Yeah.
when Peter Venkman's doing his like TV show or stage show, whatever the fuck it is, and he has like
Yeah,
hypnotist and all
she's the
kind of
psychic who says it's gonna end of the world, and he just looks at the screen and goes, "Bummer."
bummer. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
her. Like she looks so fucking different in that film. It's crazy, and it's only what like 3 years apart, I think, maybe
yeah.
less.
Well,
Fuck, wait, was Ghostbusters 2 might have been 89. Might only
I
be a
can't.
year apart. But anyway, they
Yeah,
look so
Ghostbusters
similar.
2 was 89. Yeah, because
Yeah. So they're 1 year apart, and she looks like a completely different person. It's crazy.
do you know you mentioned Marshall Bell? Do
Mhm.
you know we've done 3 out of his 4 known fours?
Oh, really?
Yeah, like for, for a guy who just has made a living as a supporting actor.
Mm-hmm.
But we've
Starship
done, yeah,
Troopers.
Starship Troopers. He was General Owen. Yeah,
Oh,
come on, let's
this.
do big ones. No, not this.
Oh fuck.
Two big ones, and you will kick yourself if you don't get the second one.
Oh, a Total Recall.
Yeah, he was Quato.
Quato
Well,
and Total Recall.
he was Quato's body. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Everyone calls him Quato.
yeah.
He wasn't Quato.
He was George.
He was just dude.
No, he was George.
I didn't even know he had a name. He was just a dude. Everyone
Yeah,
remembers Quato. I don't think I'm going to get the other one. At least not in a short time frame.
he was John Cusack's dad in Stand by Me. He was Mr. LaChance.
Oh fuck! Of course he
Yeah,
was. Of
yeah.
course he was. Jesus Christ, man! Small roles in massive movies, man.
And
Massive
the other
movies.
one, like I'll have to go through his IMDb to see if there's a better one because I love this film, but I haven't seen it for a while. But he was Lieutenant Atwater in Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead.
I have not seen that movie for donkey's years.
Oh, it is. The only thing I ever remember about that film is Treat Williams ate some shit in prison. Like that
Well,
is
there is
all I
that.
remember.
There
Yeah.
is that. I can't remember a single thing. I have seen it, but I couldn't tell you anything about that fucking movie. But this movie, though, I mean, do you like just to be clear? Do you think Schwarzenegger's good in this film? Because I think
No,
he's fucking awesome. I think he's
no.
great. I do.
I think
I
he's
think
over the
this.
top.
Yeah, but I think that's the point. I think we mentioned it before, and it's the same reason he's so well. It's a different reason, but the reason he works in say Conan and he works in Terminator and he works in this is because he's playing a larger than life character. The fact that he can hardly act, and don't get me wrong, I don't think he's doing this on purpose, but because of the accent and everything else, it's kind of like the Crocodile Dundee effect, but without any of the street smarts. Like he's
Yeah.
so totally clueless and so like clearly just dropped from outer space, or I don't know, 62 nautical miles southeast of Fiji, or whatever the fuck it is. But because of that, he actually works in this movie. But I don't think it's on purpose. I don't think they've kind of, managed to nurture this like wonderful performance. It's just almost like a happy accident, kind of like in the Terminator, where he's got this screen presence and this stillness, which might be almost by accident, but is perfect for the role. And I think he's actually perfect for this role, but not necessarily due to his acting chops, but because he's such a unique and bizarre character. There's no one else on planet Earth quite like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that's why he works. This perfect human being who's been born and bred on this island, never seen another seen very few human beings, and then suddenly fucking rose his ass to America. It kind of works. It kind of works.
Technically, he only rode his ass 20 miles to the nearest island with an airport. Just get it right. Right?
Yeah.
No,
But
no.
fair
Get
enough.
it right. Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
The other thing, we'll go back to Arnie and stuff because not growing up. So two things, right? The first thing is, why has he got a German accent on the island or Austrian accent?
It makes no sense.
Okay. Secondly, the introduction, the beginning with Dr. Werner, when he's talking about Julius. Oh, Julius came to the island. Julius did this. Julius did that. What did he think was going to happen when he told Julius he had a long lost brother? Did he think he was going to go, okay, that's fine. I mean, he's there somewhere. Or did he? He was like, and he chose to leave me. Of course he did. You've just told this dude he's got a brother somewhere. And then all of a sudden, Julius is like, I can feel him. You couldn't feel him 35 years before you were told. Now you can feel your brother.
Yeah,
With your fucking fake made-up twin telepathy, which really ticked me off. When he stops in the middle of the street and taps his fucking thing because Vince is doing it, taps his face.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest issues with the movie, actually. Well, one, to go back to the start first, it's almost strange that I guess he could almost assume that he's not going to leave the island because he's 35 and he's not left the island yet. Surely this would have happened years ago. He's reading all these books. They're not hiding him from culture or history. But at some point, you might be like, do you know what? I might want to leave the island. And no one can say to him, it's like, oh, you're not ready for the outside world. Dude, you're built like Mr. Olympia. You'll be fucking fine. And then the moment they mention he's got a brother, he's like, I'm leaving immediately. Like he's never had the temptation before.
Yeah,
that is all very strange.
I'm guessing he's probably had a little bit of temptation, but no actual drive to go. But to be told you have a brother, and then for the doctor to think, you know what? Yeah, okay, I've got a brother, but no, it's fine. He'll find me.
Yeah, well, the bigger issue is your second point there. I didn't mind them for comedy purposes, having their little moments when they do things in a similar way, blah, blah, blah. But towards the end of the film, when basically Arnold Schwarzenegger uses twin power as like they use it as a plot device to find Danny DeVito. Give me a fucking break. And then just randomly he steals a car. I mean, it's an awesome fucking car, but completely out of character decides to he just sees the car and thinks, I'm going to steal this motherfucker. Yeah. There's nothing to back that up for the rest of the movie.
He steals the car, but he also knows through twin powers, is where Danny DeVito is. Like he's man, what drive left and drive right and drive straight, and all of a sudden you're in this block of warehouses.
So dumb. It really is super dumb. And I know it's like a comedy and stuff, but for the most part, it's relatively grounded. And then we just have to believe in fucking magic twin powers for like the last act of this film. And the last act is probably the weakest bit. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
I actually think the stuff where they're becoming friends and obviously he keeps double crossing him, but it's all like light-hearted. Because like you said, plot-wise, this film's pretty light, and the reason it works and the reason it holds up and people still love it is because of Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger. I love the stuff when he's teaching him to drive, because I remember I had the same problems. You know, when he puts the window down, he says use one foot at a time. I had the exact same problem. The first time I got into an automatic car, I was in America. I just got a rental, and I was like, this will be a piece of piss. I'm sitting there in the garage, and the car is just jumping. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? And I had to do a Google, like watch a video, and it just, the first thing that came up, it just said use one foot. I'm like, and as soon as I used one foot, I drove thousands of miles and everything was fine.
You left for braking you. Is that the problem?
Well, I was just doing the natural thing as we do as British drivers of like bringing up the brake as like to push down on the accelerator.
You mean having a fucking stick?
Yeah, but it just crashes the fucking car. You've just got to do, like you said, the other foot, just get it out the fucking way, cut it off if you can, and just drive like a normal human being. But as much as I do love that sequence, have you ever heard of a car manual in a glove box? Like a fucking, no, not a car manual, sorry, a driving manual, how to drive manual.
No, I haven't. The manual, I was about to say yes, because mine is in the glove box.
Yeah, but that's a car manual.
Yeah. I don't know whether he was just reading like the things on the car, where if you look in the manual, he says this is your brake, this is your accelerator, blah blah blah, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
But the way he's reading it as well, I'm learning how to drive. Like, what?
Well, that's what I mean. He actually specifically calls it a driving manual, as if it's a manual telling you how to drive, not what the fucking car is. Because telling you what the car is isn't going to tell you shit about driving. So I don't know. I've just never heard of a fucking car manual before. Again, I think it's just
lifting
created
the car
for a
up
sequence
to a specific degree to know that it turns the alarm off.
Yeah, but dude, this is the era of Arnie just lifting cars for no apparent reason. They have almost the exact same scene in Predator, where he's just like, oh, like, why is that truck up on the fucking stilts? It's just so Arnie can go over, lift it, you get Jesse the Body Ventura. What the fuck? You know, it's a fucking awesome sequence. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And it's the same in this. Does lifting the car really do that? Do we give a fuck? No, we just want to watch Arnie, who I'm pretty sure is only wearing shorts because he's got such a boner about his calves. Yeah. And this movie has a boner about his calves.
Arnie hates cars. Because
no, calves.
Oh, calves. Sorry.
Yeah.
But Arnie hates cars. Like you said, in Predator, he's lifting her up to chuck it down. He did that in this as well. And in, what is it? Commando. He's ripping seats out of cars because he can't fucking sit in them. And to be fair, if I had Arnie's car, actually I can't say that. I said if I had Arnie's calves, I'd be wearing shorts as well. But I wear shorts 24/7. So
fair enough. So yeah, you would just double that. You just feel better about it. I mean, he has magnificent calves, but the movie goes out of its way to say, look, he's wearing shorts. Check out his.
And don't get me wrong.
Just that,
the movie goes out of his way to say about his entire body. I mean, the fact everyone stares at him.
He's in unbelievable shape for this movie.
When he takes his shirt off, and Vincent says, "What's wrong with you? Are you allergic to somebody? What are all these bumps all over your body?" Absolutely shredded.
He was still in like peak, not quite Mr. Olympia condition, but he wasn't a million miles off it, and he is absolutely shredded in this film. And maybe that's one of the reasons that, let's be clear, Marnie is utterly fucking keen for him in this film. She is so keen. It's unbelievable.
Marnie could not sit down for sliding off seats every time she's next to him. It's ridiculous.
That's so gross, dude. Although not as gross.
Hang on. I'm going to double down and say leaving snail trails as well.
Yeah, dude, that was completely unnecessary. Although maybe not as gross as watching Arnie on screen kissing women. As gorgeous as she is, watching Arnie kiss women is like watching a bear make out with a salmon. There's just always this feeling that he might just fucking eat her. It's like the only thing you would say that's actually believable. He genuinely looks like he's never kissed a woman before. That is the one thing I'll say.
I mean, I appreciate that. Even if you've never kissed a woman before, your mouth doesn't need to open that wide.
Well, the thing is, he seems to do one of two things. He either keeps his mouth closed when he shouldn't, or opens it too wide at other times. Oh, come on, let's do some kissing. Come on, it's fucking horrible. I mean, I love Arnie, but he should never be allowed to kiss women on screen. Full fucking stop.
That
There's something about these guys. It was the same issue, to bring it back to The Rock, where you're like, you never want to see them on screen with a woman because the thought of them having sex with another human being is fucking horrifying. It's terrifying. He's too big.
that face he pulls after he gets boned, after he has sex with her.
I
Like
mean,
he's
yeah,
just
there's.
lying down with that ridiculous look on his face. It looked
Well,
like
I
they've
mean,
got
let's
an
be
Arnie
clear.
doll. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's Kelly Preston. I'd have that face too, but they
Yeah,
concentrated a bit too much on that face.
yeah, they did, but there's no way Marnie is dishing out missionary. There's just no fucking way. He has gone straight to like the last page of the fucking textbook on that. And I mean, you saw the way she dressed to go to the supermarket. I mean, god damn, Marnie does not fuck about. And I mean, even by 80 standards, the fact that her and Linda are just rinsing busters at the supermarket while she's dressed like a supermodel, I was like, god damn, this just doesn't happen anymore. It just doesn't happen anymore, which is a bit of a shame. But hey, speaking of weird things in this film, beyond obviously smoking and dressing like a supermodel at the supermarket, did you notice some of the pictures in this movie? This is all Vincent's doing. So when we're in his office, he has a road warrior, a framed
Yeah,
road warriors
yeah.
picture, later to become the Legion of Doom. I'm like, that's bizarre. And then later on in his apartment, he's got like a framed soccer picture. Like, what the fuck would he be doing with a soccer picture in his living room?
Because the first part of his door he gets thrown through, sports agent. He's a sports agent. Then it was a couple of other things.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Sorry, that makes
but
sense.
I only saw the first and last one. It was a sports agent, and then somebody to show you where to put the furniture in your house. I think
Mhm.
it was like he had a list of.
Oh, so if he's a sports agent, like he's kind of trying to sell you on the idea that of all people, he's the agent for the Road Warriors slash Legion of Doom.
I think that's what he's trying to say. Like,
Ah, okay.
and that, was it Vincent whatever Enterprises? Because basically
Mhm.
he's saying Vincent Benedict Enterprises because he's got his hand in
Ah,
every pie going.
yeah, that makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Just out of interest, what did you make of the music in this film? Because it's always been mega memorable. Like growing up with this, like Brother to Brother, the fucking amazing end credit sequence, Twins, which I never knew Little Richard was involved with. And
Also,
thanks
did
to
you know
you,
there was a music video?
I didn't until you sent it, and I'm very happy that is now in my life. I mean, it's terrible, but it's that wonderful late 80s one. And they always manage to get the stars into the music video, which is
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. If you haven't seen it, it's worth checking out. I mean, the score by Jorge Delure. I've absolutely murdered his name there. The score is mental. The soundtrack is insane. All the kind of yakety yak stuff.
Yeah.
But like the movie itself, which in many respects is also mental, it's incredibly memorable. I mean, that when he's walking around, I know you said you don't like the bit where he's using twins power, but the brother to brother song for that sequence kind of
Yeah.
makes it. The fact that they've got two songs in this film, one's called Brother to Brother and one's called Twins, makes me think that they've literally gone out and just asked a bunch of people to make songs about brothers and twins. But it kind of works in that kind of late 80s way. Don't get me wrong, nobody's mistaking this for a movie which wasn't made in 1988. It's so 80s, from the hair to the
The
technology
the
to the
clothes.
soundtrack to the score. Everything about it is so great.
It's
Even the tone, everything about it.
it's
But
so egregiously 80s. It's
oh,
ridiculous. Yeah.
so ridiculous. But it kind of gets away with it, I think. The only one who doesn't get away with it, right? And this is more, like when you find out. We were talking about it when we both recently watched what is it? Fuck, Beverly Hills Cop,
Yeah.
Axel F, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And we are saying about not Rosewood, the other one, Bogomil, is that his name? The other cop? Taggart. Bogomil's the other one. Sorry, I'm thinking of Beverly Hills Cop 2. Taggart. And he was like 37 when they made the first fucking film.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can't believe he's younger than me. Mary Ann Benedict, their mother, the actress Bonnie Bartlett, I thought when I was watching this film when I was younger that she was like a million fucking years old. She's like 56 and she's still alive. She's 95 now, but she's still alive. But I would have guessed like, oh, she was like 78 years old. I was like 50 fucking six. I'm not sure if they've like tried to make her look older, but I don't know. I found that one bemusing. The fact that she's like 14 years older than me now. I was like, Jesus Christ. To me, in my head, she still looks like she could be my grandmother. We're sadly at the realistic stage now where she could be my older sister, which is very fucking depressing.
I spent ages when I watched this yesterday trying to figure out where I knew her from. and it finally clicked today. I finished rewatching the Home Improvements. She's fucking Tim Taylor's mother in Home
Oh,
Improvement.
yeah, yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Of course. Always playing mothers, but yeah, probably not much older.
Mm.
But speaking of something I do love about this film, though, it probably doesn't get enough love, but Vincent's stolen 5-liter Ford Mustang GT. Oh, my fucking days. That is one of the, like, the low-key coolest movie cars of all time. The red one. It doesn't even
Yeah.
say Mustang. It just looks like a Ford. But you hear it a few times, like, God damn.
That's not stolen though. That's his one, isn't it? That's
I thought it
registered
was
to
just,
him. No,
I thought
because
you,
the copper pulled him over. He keeps getting
I just assume all of his cars are fucking stolen.
he keeps getting parking tickets for that one, and he didn't have a
Oh,
driver's license.
maybe,
I mean,
maybe,
if it was
maybe, maybe.
stolen, they would have mentioned you were driving around a stolen car as well. But it's
Yeah,
your
it's a good
license
point.
is
Good point.
expired, and you're getting parking. They won't give you a parking ticket for a stolen car.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. So terrible taste in hair, terrible taste in clothes, fantastic taste in cars. But
Oh, it was a great car.
yeah, yeah. What did you make at the end of this film? Like one of my biggest issues with this film is that as much fun it is to see Arnie and Devito on screen together, this is supposed to be an action comedy. There's supposed to be an action part to it. And the whole bad guys narrative just falls flat. I mean, there's too many of them. I feel like they should have kind of made it maybe one bad guy and his goons going after him. And instead you get Werner, you get the guy from Texas.
Yeah,
And then the ending just kind of happens.
I wonder if you need the bad guy for this. It was really weird. It just felt forced.
You
You
need a
didn't need the bad
threat,
guy.
maybe.
I
But
don't know if you do though, because the whole adventure of this film was to go from one to the other. They already had the threat with the McGurns or whatever they were called, the brothers,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
randomly you brought a cousin in as well. It was Sven Ole Thorson because he's back
Yeah, of
again because
course,
it's an
of
Arnie film.
course. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you then needed Beetroot, McKinley, and Webster.
Oh no, no, no. That's
No,
what I mean. Like you
yeah,
need one of them. Like
and
you need a bad guy to keep the plot
and I
moving
think
for
you
there
have
to
the
be any
Klein
kind of threat.
brothers. You have the Klein
Yeah,
brothers following them. I get it. You don't need
that's
any more
fine.
than that.
Yeah.
But to have that end, just to have the chain that they use to tie the world together, I think, because that was meant to be funny, and by the end of it, it just got ridiculous. Like fucking hell, what are they under like a 900-foot story building for that entire chain to be up there?
Yeah, and I mean that's not even my biggest issue. I mean, Webster's fine as a bad guy, but again, his motives are like unclear. He just kind of seems to drop in. He just wants the money. They should have kept it more of a connection to the characters. But my biggest issue with the sequence at the end is that it's just a completely forgettable location. It's like you said, the death by chain is memorable, even if it is a bit dumb. But the whole sequence happens in like a beigey gray LA. I know it's supposed to be in what, Texas at that point, or
Yeah.
Houston, or whatever it is. I mean, for the life of me, I'd be amazed if that sequence isn't shot in LA.
You
And it
know
just
why he
looks
was
like,
in Texas? Because he stole a cowboy's car. That's the only
oh, of
reason.
course, of course, of
That's
course.
the only reason you
But
know it's in Texas. Like fucking
but
hell.
but that's the thing, you have him chasing Vincent, which is fine. Well, not chasing him, but doing twin powers. But once you do get the shot at the end, one, it's super short. Two, it's in an ugly, forgettable location. And then the death is going for a laugh, which doesn't really happen. So for me, it's just like the finale just falls completely flat. And like you said, the last sequence then is them in their weird, God knows what the fuck this is business. And then Mama shows up, which I still find, as I mentioned, quite creepy. So as much as I enjoyed this film despite its faults, and as I say, it's the kind of movie which just washes over you. You can almost have it on in the background and be like, oh, look at Schwarzenegger and DeVito back on screen again. As soon as it tries to become a quote unquote movie towards the end, it just, I don't want to say it drops off a cliff, but I'm just like, I'm ready for this to be over now, to be honest.
So is Dr. Werner then step papa if she's mama? Because by the end, and did they plan that to
Because
have
he's
sex?
just hanging around, isn't he?
Yeah, but did they plan that to have sex at the exact same time and apparently have babies at the exact same time? And
Well,
the
as you
fact
can
that they're
see,
twins?
that they keep doing everything at the same time. So obviously
Is that
they're
because
off in
they
it. So
is that because they both fucked at the same time in the
I
in
think that's what they're implying. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So in the motel, they're just that fertile that
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
just
They're
making,
just
yeah.
both just laying pipe in separate rooms
Yeah.
and just both
So
making babies.
did Julius's kids grow up to be like Greek gods and then Vincent's kids grow up to be trolls?
100%.
Or do you get per twin one Greek god and one troll?
No, no, no. I think you're getting two awesome Julia. Because let's be clear, we're talking Arnold Schwarzenegger, the quote unquote perfect human that they've created. He's our fucking Marnie, just making absolutely gorgeous, genius kids. And then the other two troglodytes are making absolute mutants on the other side. So yeah, I don't think it's a one-on-one thing. I think you get
That
two
is
fucking
so mean.
stunners on one side and you get two mutants on the other. mutants is harsh. It is harsh, but you're getting two considerably less attractive,
No,
less intelligent ones on the other side.
tomorrow were you calling the kids mutants? You just called them two troglodytes fucking.
Did I just say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
You
sounds
got two
pretty bad.
Oh,
I don't
that made
even.
my day.
Anyway, let's move
I
on.
mean, yeah, Chloe isn't that, but like Linda, she's lovely. I mean, she's no
She's
Marnie,
okay.
obviously, but she's all right. Yeah,
She's
yeah.
okay. I mean, in fairness, they do a pretty good job of picking someone who could conceivably like the idea that she could be into Danny DeVito. Like, I guess her biggest
Everyone's
problem.
into Danny DeVito. That's the thing. He was
Yeah.
fucking that woman at the beginning of the film. The
Mhm,
husband
mhm.
comes home. So what do? You send the short ass guy out the window. He just
Yeah,
happened to have a
yeah.
ladder.
Oh yeah, like there's no question. Like he's clearly got an alert to him. But if it was the other way round and Schwarzenegger was with Chloe Webb and DeVito was with Kelly Preston, it would be an affront. It would be a fucking affront. Nobody even mentioned that. It's like, no, clearly Kelly Preston is going to be getting on with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Chloe Webb is going to be. Chloe Webb is perfectly fine. Her biggest problem is she spends most of the movie standing next to Kelly Preston. And it's not her fault. Kelly Preston in 1988 is just that fucking hot.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. Should we move on to favorite scene?
Yeah, sweet. I'll go first if you want, because it's a pretty easy one for me. It's the prison. It's when Julius goes to see Vincent in the prison. He's
Oh, yeah, yes, good
and then
shot.
he looks at him
Pick
first.
up the phone.
Well, it's before that,
Phone.
isn't it? He looks at him first, and he goes back to the guard, and he goes, "I'm looking for Vincent Benedict. You got
Hmm.
him." And then when he realizes they're not identical, then in
Hmm.
his mind it's okay. He's gone,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
no, that's fine. We're not identical. That's my brother. And then he starts having that conversation. So, and then he just kept Vinny then or Vincent just going, pick up the phone. You have to talk through the phone, bozo. And
Hmm.
I
You
thought that
rarely
was a
get to use
very
the
good
term
scene.
bozo. There's a
Yeah.
couple of terms in this film. What was it? I nearly what does he say? Not lost my cookies. Chucked my cookies is
Toss,
supposed to tossed my cookies.
toss my
And I was
cookies. Yeah.
like whenever you use the word tossed and you're coming out of a jail, I'm like, man, did he have a fucking rough time? Supposedly it just means puke.
Yeah, it is. I'm surprised you haven't heard of that before. But
Oh, I gotta be honest, when I heard tossed my cookies, I was like, is that like another way of saying tossed my salad? I was like, oh
in all
fucking dear,
fairness,
dude.
us as British people, yeah, the word tossed is for tossed off or toss my salad. So we don't
I think
toss your cookies a lot.
toss salads is. I always thought of it as an Americanism. Like a
Maybe.
tosser is a different thing, but anyway, doesn't matter. My favorite sequence easily is the dancing sequence at the bar. I think it's super charming. I think it perfectly sums up the movie. I think it captures all the best bits. Where you get the great back and forth between DeVito and Schwarzenegger. You get the romantic bits with them, with the girls. You get a fight sequence when it's just the brothers, like you said, you don't get all the other bad guys. It's got an amazing track, Die for This Dance by Jeff Beck and Nicolette Larson. Again, another one of those tracks in this film where I'm not sure in and of itself it's good, but it just works in this movie. And years later, when I think about this film, the first things that pop into my head are quite often the songs, which is quite bizarre. But and you get another reference to you forgot the third rule in a crisis situation. So
Yeah.
oh, he's talking that weird shit again, boss. I think if you were trying to sell somebody on this film or kind of encapsulate what this film does well, I think it's that sequence in particular. So that's my favorite scene.
Nice. What's next now?
Loves and
It's
hates.
loves. Yeah.
I'll go
You can go
first.
first if you want. No, I'll
Okay,
let
fair
you go.
enough.
Yep.
As I mentioned earlier, some of the greatest casting ever beyond the supporting cast I mentioned. And, it was a great point you made about the whole swapping with Christopher Lloyd and Hulk Hogan. The reason that this works to a certain extent is that aesthetic disparity. Like I said, it works so well on the poster. You just see the poster like, yeah, this is going to be fun. Schwarzenegger, fucking DeVito, twins, get me on board. Number two, Kelly Preston just looking peak 80s hot. I mentioned the fact that her hair means that she's, really fighting against it, but totally overcomes it. And number three, I did have a number three, didn't I? The tone, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
The tone, just because as I said, I just don't think modern movies can recreate this. I think they really struggle with it. And you get a few movies like this where they don't feel the need to kind of go crazy with the action or crazy with the comedy. It's almost just a movie. And we saw that with Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is a better movie than this. But everyone got caught up in the idea that there's this big action comedy where for the most part, everyone's playing it pretty straight, like in this movie. It's just Peter Venkman. You've just got funny characters in a relatively straight world, whereas modern movies, and you only need to look as far as the Ghostbusters sequels, they feel like they have to turn everything up to 11. and it becomes dumb. And like I said, they can't do these movies without irony anymore, and that's why I think they live uniquely in the 80s. So another reason I love this is that unique tone which you only got in 80s action comedies.
We're not pretty much far off the mark, to be fair, in regards to loves. Because although I'm not a huge fan of Schwarzenegger in this or DeVito going a bit too strong, them two together is when it works. So I got to go with Schwarzenegger and DeVito together. When they're on screen together, they seem to bounce off each other really well. I'm
And
a big fan of that.
I think you've got a good point there, because if you look at their performances individually, I actually agree with you. Like DeVito does turn up a bit, and he is very unlikable. And Schwarzenegger definitely turns up the buffoonery, make no mistake. But like you said, when they're together, it levels off. Like
Yeah,
they find a happy medium. So yeah,
they balance each other out.
100%,
Yeah,
100%. Yeah. So even though I say like I like them both, it's because they spend most of the movie on screen together. But yeah,
yeah, I get that.
totally agree.
Number two is Kelly Preston. Yeah, I wasn't gonna go without saying she was a love. And number three was the direction by Ivan Reitman. I think he did well. It went along at a clip right until the end, and I've got no problem with it. But well, I got a problem with the end, but I've got no problem with how it moves. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I'm
think
all
that's
right.
similar
Yeah,
to
I
what
think
I
his
said.
direction is really good. Yeah, yeah. That's
They
said
don't
we're
feel
not
the
too far off
need
the
to
mark.
throw in unnecessary jokes or unnecessary action. Nothing. No, the reason this movie is so much fun to watch, and the reason it watches over you, is because nothing feels forced. It just kind of happens, which
Yeah,
means it isn't massively propulsive. It very rarely gets you off your seat, and as we mentioned earlier, you rarely kind of like laughing out loud. But it's just pleasant. It's just a fun watch, and It's probably the reason we watched this so much as kids. Not because it was ever our favorite Schwarzenegger movie, just because it's just a nice watch. I can't think of many better films to just have on in the background than this. I won't necessarily pay attention to it all, but you know what? It doesn't matter because the plot's paper thin anyway.
Oh,
In
I'm sorry.
term,
No, number four.
oh,
Number
go for
four.
it.
It made me think, what the fuck's happened to David Caruso? Like, he just
Well,
disappeared, didn't he?
no, he was on that TV show for
He was
fucking
on
donkey
CSI
years.
Miami until 2012.
Yeah,
And if you
yeah,
check
yeah.
his IMDb, nothing.
That's bizarre. But he was on that show for like 10 years, it feels
Yeah,
like.
2000 to 2012. Yeah, but it's just like he was
My
a
God
decent
knows.
actor. And we've
Yeah,
done quite
it
a few of
feels.
his films. He's been around. He did First Blood. He
Yeah,
did.
he's great in First Blood.
Yeah, we did another one of his not too long ago. The fuck was he on?
Yeah, he
Hudson
feels like.
Hawk. He was Kit Kat in Hudson Hawk.
Oh, of course. I tried to forget that. That film's fucking terrible. But yeah, he was always good at just rocking up and playing like a small part. You wouldn't even call him a character actor, just a supporting role. He just pops up, does a couple of scenes because of maybe the kind of shock of red hair. He always leaves an impression. And he just
Yeah,
disappears. Everything's fine. So yeah, I am surprised to hear that he hasn't done much since 2012. But hey ho. Hates number one, ponytails on dudes, the hair in general. As I said, the whole Kelly Preston thing, like they're trying their best to make it look uglier than she is. Number two, like, why aren't we getting twins too? Why do I keep calling it twins too? Triplets? With Eddie Murphy, though, let's to be clear. And number three, we already mentioned a few times, the squabbling third parties, the Texas businessman, Hitman Webster, it all gets pushed into the background. It doesn't really work. I get it. You want the emphasis on Schwarzenegger and DeVito. I totally agree with that. But that just means make it one bad guy. But that seems to be an 80s trait. Why have one bad guy when you can have 70 fucking two? And they really needed to kind of simplify that, make it one memorable character. The answer is Webster. Like, he's actually quite good in this. Whose name, the actor's name just dropped out of my head all of a sudden.
Marshall Bell.
Marshall Bell. He's actually really good. He just doesn't get enough to do because he's kind of dropped in it almost in, feels like the last minute, but hey, it is what it is. And I'm going to sneak in a number four, twin powers used as a plot device. Absolutely unforgivable.
Your number four is my number one.
That's fair enough, yeah.
Twin powers. I wasn't a fan. My number two is Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito separately. They became a bit too much. Like I said, I loved them together. I thought they were great together, but separately. And number three, the whole thing around everyone lied to. You lied to me about him being dead. You lied to me about her being dead. You lied to us. You've gone through all of this to make a super soldier. You've done everything. The super soldier disappears to the fucking island for 35 years. You haven't done anything with Julius, who might have something. Like, obviously, you just decided straight away that no, he's the crap. So we'll just turf him off. And apparently his superpower is he can talk any woman into doing anything he wants. The whole story of it just felt a bit odd to me.
I was trying to figure it out. And I think if you're making this movie now, you'd feel the need to explain it. I don't mind the fact that they don't explain it. But like you said, it's like, wait, you go through all this effort to make this like superhuman. He's fucking clearly super, and then you just like put it all under wraps. I guess the idea is that morally it's super fucking questionable. So maybe it's one of those kind of scientific endeavors where they're like, well, we've done it, but fuck, if we get caught, or maybe even like, you know, the US government, like, listen, we can't have this getting out because this is Nazi Germany stuff. You know, as I mentioned earlier, this is eugenics. We can't fucking be seen to be doing this. This goes against the Bible, all that other bullshit. So maybe they were just like, well, it's awesome that we did it, but we can't have them just fucking cutting about and just saying, oh, I'm the superhuman that the US fucking, you know, government created. So I think maybe there's a longer version of this film where they deal with the moral ambiguity is probably being kind, the morally questionable decisions that these scientists took to create Arnold Schwarzenegger. And that's why they stuck him out on an island. Like, there's got to be a reason he's, you know, off on an island off Fiji. Like, you just couldn't be further away from people than in the middle of the fucking, you know, in the middle of the ocean. But
And number 4, the timing of this one thing in particular. When Arnie meets his dad in that big house, and his dad says, I haven't thought about your mum for 30 years, or I haven't seen her for 30 years. Arnie's 35 years of age. So they told her that he's dead, and then he last saw her when Arnie was 5, okay? He asked her to marry him, but she said no. But he's got a wife and kids and grandkids who are at least in double figures. 10, 11, 12. The timing of him going from Mary to this wife to have kids to have grandkids doesn't work for me.
See, all I was thinking there was that Catherine Reitman was one of the daughters. More specifically, she's Maureen Penderosa from Always Sunny, or the cat lady. And I was like, God, that girl looks familiar. And I had to look it up. I was like, I fucking knew that was Maureen Penderosa. So yeah, I didn't even notice that. But yeah, well, let's be clear. He might well have been getting a piece on the sides. You know, these guys are, as we've already mentioned, morally questionable to say the least.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give you that.
Clearly a pimp. Like, the way he's standing around, he's got the grey chest hair, the fucking full lock of hair. The guy's a pimp. The guy's fucking, make no mistake.
And why are you all just standing out in your front yard?
Oh, because they're rich. Because they're rich, they can just do whatever the fuck they want.
With the gate open.
Yeah, he just rolls in. Dad.
Yeah.
Like, oh, dude, can someone shoot this motherfucker immediately?
Can you not tell my wife I was involved in some sort of secret super soldier program, please?
There was more security at Mama's fucking, what is it, art?
Yeah, an art colony or whatever it is. You just
whatever the hell that
locked
was.
away. Like,
yeah, and this like hippie colony is like weird as shit. It was like The Village. Jesus Christ. Any alternative titles to this film, which I'll be amazed if there are, but there always is. So maybe I should just keep my mouth shut.
As I was going down, I thought, oh, we're not going to have any today. And then I got to the bottom and I thought, oh, okay. It's all going to be around about the same thing until we get to the bottom.
Sure, yeah.
So Brazil, twin brothers.
Sure, yeah.
Bulgaria, Gemini.
Well, close to Gemini, man. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Finland, identical twins.
Yeah, sure.
But they're not identical.
I know. It's really dumb.
Slovenia.
Just Slovenia's fine.
I still don't know which one's right because you told me off.
Yeah, only because you said Slovenia, which is wrong. Which I'm having to see that people in Slovenia might actually say Slovenia, but over here in the UK, we definitely say Slovenia.
Slovenia, okay, I'll forget that.
Yeah, of course.
Double.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah.
Spain, twins strike twice.
No, that sounds like the fucking Jean-Claude Van Damme version of this movie.
Oh. Wait, this is the Jean-Claude Van Damme one. Taiwan, Brother Dragon.
Oh, awesome. It makes no sense, but sure, why not?
That was it, really? Yeah, Brother Dragon. So basically, it's just twins everywhere.
Of course. And then Brother Dragon. Fantastic. Brother Dragon just doesn't make any sense. Any facts for this film?
Yep. So you briefly mentioned it about choosing this film, but Universal needed to know if Schwarzenegger, DeVito, and Ivan Reitman were committed very early on because they were under a deadline. They made the deal on a napkin at lunch with agents. They signed it, and DeVito then had it framed.
Which is fantastic. I can see why, because we mentioned the fact that they made so much money. And I mean, what was it? This movie made 260 million off an 18 million budget. And that's not to mention the fact that this would have been an absolute monster on VHS, both in terms of sales and rentals for sure. And this, maybe not so much nowadays, but for like 20 years, this was absolutely on repeat on TV. It was just on all the fucking time.
Yeah. Arnold Schwarzenegger went on record to state that the film was the best decision he ever made. I wonder if he'll say that about Junior.
Probably not. Another that was another one of the Ivan Reitman movies he did, wasn't it? Was it 3?
DeVito, yeah.
He did this, Junior,
Kin-
and Kindergarten Cop.
Kindergarten Cop, yeah. But
2 out of 3 is not bad. 2 out of 3 is not bad.
Junior was with DeVito again, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that was
Yeah.
bad. That was
Oh
bad.
yeah, I'm assuming it's good. After the surprise success of the film, Schwarzenegger started getting comedy scripts sent to him.
Well, for the next like 10 years, basically he just go because as we mentioned earlier, he does just action, 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 twins. And then after this, for the next decade, he basically does action, comedy, action, comedy, action, comedy for the next 10 years. Like he
Yeah.
just keeps going back and forth. And for the most part, other than the aforementioned Junior, he's pretty successful. I mean,
Yeah.
even, and I guess the one movie which combined the two, I know it didn't do that well at the box office, but The Last Action Hero, like it's aged pretty well. Like if you go back and watch it now, Arnie's actually fantastic in that movie. And dare I say, I mean, we're going to do it on the podcast sooner rather than later. It's a pretty good fucking movie.
Two real life twins were reunited with their father after seeing him in the scene set in downtown Santa Fe. The original title was The Experiment, but it was dropped because of Arnold Schwarzenegger's Germanic background.
Yeah, I can't be having that.
Schwarzenegger had been wanting to do a comedy for years after several action movies. Twins was his opportunity.
Good choice again, though. Again,
Yeah.
going with Reitman, working with Danny DeVito. Just you're not just like, oh, I'm going to be the star, and he was always the star, but he shared the poster with DeVito. I mean, you kind of have to with a movie called Twins, but like it wasn't just, oh, he's the biggest movie star. He made some really fucking savvy choices in the 80s and 90s, specifically in the 80s, obviously.
2 baby boys played newborn Julius, and 3 baby boys played newborn Vincent in the opening scene.
It's never one, is there? Never one. Maybe that's why we were confused. Maybe that's why we had different takes on you saying that the babies look the same size, and I was like, the other one looked ginormous. It's because in one scene they probably were the same size, and in the other one there was probably a massive disparity.
The second film, released in 1988, to feature a male character teaching their brother how to slow dance with a woman in a hotel room after being recently reunited. The other being Rain Man, which would premiere exactly a week later.
Well, I mentioned Rain Man earlier in the movie. There are a lot of cross. I mean, it's a very different movie tonally, but you know, Danny DeVito kind of does have a bit of the Tom Cruise about him in this film.
At 39 minutes and 31, at 39 minutes and 31 seconds of this film, the building shown is the same building that Pauly Shore and Stephen Baldwin get trapped in Biodome.
Wow, I was not expecting Biodome to get a shout on this podcast. But I tell you what, dude, I'm fucking over the moon that it did. I watched that film so much when I was younger, and do you know what? I have zero fucking interest in ever watching it again because there is no way it's not fucking ass.
And now we're doing it on this podcast.
No. If we're going to do a Pauly Shore movie, we have to do what they would call it in America as Encino Man, and what we would call as California Man, I think it was called.
We're going to have to do California Man at some point. Like, yeah. It's
no,
Disney
Vising the Juice. Like it's such a...
Or was it son-in-law or something? Or we're in the army. We're in the army now with Andy Dick.
No, I don't think he was actually in it. No, I think I'm thinking of someone else. But remember, there was like this like glut of snowboarding movies in like the late 80s, like fucking Snow School and shit like that. One of those I watched loads when I was younger. They did amazing parody of it on South Park. Like they absolutely nailed the spirit of those movies. Where for some reason there was just like 2 or 3 years where it was just like, we're making snowboarding movies. It's basically what they made fun of in what the fuck's it called? Hot Tub Time Machine. The second week in a row we brought that up, to the point now I'm thinking, is it too soon to do Hot Tub Time Machine? I mean, Hot Tub Time Machine was like 2010? Am I making, is that
something
right?
like that? No,
it's got to be 14 years. Well, on the basis, I have to ask, do you fucking love Hot Tub Time Machine?
Don't love it.
You don't love it?
No, I don't love it. I do. I've only ever seen it once, if I'm honest, and I did like it. I liked it for... Well, John Cusack, I thought he was great in it. And what was his name? Fucking Marty McFly's dad.
Oh, yeah, where he plays like the one-armed Crispin Glover.
Yeah, and they keep trying to see how he got his arm done. Yeah, thank you, Crispin Glover. The only one... Crispin, sorry. Did I say Kristen? Crispin Glover.
Sorry?
Rob Corddry.
Yeah.
Can't stand him.
Oh, really? Yeah.
In that film, he's
too much. I mean, he is supposed to be too much. Like he is a bit of a dick. But yeah, I absolutely adore that film. But I appreciate it's just one of those like comedy.
I'm happy to go back to it at some point. Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe. Right. But it's just one of those films. Like,
by the way.
Well, saying that, the first time I watched it, like I liked it, and I was like, oh, that's a good film, and it's my kind of comedy. Like I liked a lot of the people in it. Like I like the high concept, blah blah blah. The fact that Chevy Chase just randomly shows up in it, I'm on board. It was one of those films which grew each time I watched it. Like I caught it again on TV. I was like, fuck, man, was this film that good? And then I watched it again and I'm like, I think I might absolutely fucking adore this film. And those are the comedies that often like stick with me. The ones that almost like sneak up on you, where you watch it and like, oh, this is good. But then the second time it's funny again, and the third time it's
Yeah.
funny again. Because you say a lot of comedies, they can almost be one and done. But what it comes down to, because eventually the laughs kind of wear off. And again, the reason this film is held up, it's the charm which gets you through in the characters. Because, the fourth time you're watching any comedy, you're not going to be sitting there fucking laughing your ass off. Some people say, "Oh, I was laughing my ass off the 10th time I watched this film." You're either a liar or you're a fucking lunatic, because that's just not true. So it becomes the charm and the characters and stuff like that. And I think it's the reason it holds up. But anyway, we're not doing at least we're not doing it now, a Hot Tub Time Machine podcast, despite my best efforts.
That was it for facts, by the way.
So this is Hug to the Future. So this is where we ask the question: remake, sequel, Let It Die, or Leave Well Alone.
I'll go first because it's going to be really quick. Leave it alone.
Go for it.
Just leave it alone. I doesn't need this fucking triplets that everyone's got, as you like to call it, twins too. It's too late as well. It's stupid premise. Just leave it be. Don't let it die. Just leave this film be as it was.
It is a stupid premise, but twins is a stupid premise. I do think that ship has sailed now. If they could have made it, say, 10 years ago when they were planning on to originally, and they could have got Eddie Murphy, and you get like top tier, because there's different levels of Eddie Murphy. But you get top tier Eddie Murphy. I'm kind of on board. I do not want to see the Tracy Morgan version of this fucking film. Absolutely not. That's just we've just kind of given up. No, if you're going to do triplets, it has to be Eddie Murphy. But similar, I think that ship has sailed. I'm not against the idea of like another high concept Arnie comedy, like a la, aforementioned Junior Kindergarten Cop, albeit obviously with Jason Reitman rather than Ivan Reitman. Like you could do like, I don't know, a bodybuilder becomes a gynecologist or something. And like, do we go back to the well one more time with, I know it's not the original three because it would be Ivan Reitman's son, but I like the idea of, as bad as Junior was, I mean, fuck me, it was a big swing for the fences in terms of the concept. If they can come up with like a whack in of concept and get them together, I'm not necessarily against it, but I don't need triplets. I don't need, the twins sequel they set up at the end of the film is basically their twins. So you have two sets of twins.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to see that either. So for all my fucking blather there, basically, just leave it alone. It's done. Make a change. So this is where you can, one change to make the movie better and one only. I'm speaking more to myself than I am to you there, of course.
For me, it's cut the ending. Sorry, not cut the ending. Remove the too many villains. Keep the villains as the brothers, and I think it works just as well.
Yeah, I've got the exact same thing. Streamline the bad guys' narrative and have a greater threat, ostensibly. I could have said the ponytails and the Barnets as well, but realistically, the big issue with this film is that there are too many bad guys, and thus none of them ever feel like a threat, and it's just they spend too much time with them. Anyway, that's the biggest change. Video games, unsurprisingly, there wasn't a Twins video game. If I was going to make one today, I'd probably go with a brother. Feels like a bit of a cop-out, but Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons by Starbreeze Entertainment. An amazing game, super heartfelt, and you control both brothers at the same time with different thumbsticks. You basically do that, but just they have very different skill sets. And obviously, instead of just running around a fancy land, they're running from do they go from LA to Texas? Is that what they do? Or California to Texas, wherever the fuck they go. That kind of journey, maybe with driving sections and stuff like that, but that's what I'd go for. The same one?
No, same studio. I would go with their follow-up, A Way Out, where they do the driving things. You got the Way Out, and it's split screen. So instead of controlling it with both thumbsticks, you're following the story. So when they do split it up, and one guy, because in the game, there's a scene where one guy goes to the left, one guy goes to the right through a hospital, and then you could play both brothers and have their adventures. And when they split up, which is what they do, same fucking studio. I can't believe you did that, Hazellight. But I would go A Way Out.
And yours is the correct one because aesthetically it's a better match. Like narratively, it's a much better match. I mean, you didn't have to agree quite so much. Oh, your one's better. Yeah, it's definitely better. It's 100% better.
It is 100%.
I mean, essentially, Liam, you've just missed a fucking layup there, but whatever. So let's quickly move on to scores and recommendations. For me, this is a really easy one. I actually thought going into it, I would have assumed it'd be a 4, but it's not. It's a 3-star film, but it's a really pleasant 3-star film, and it's a yes to recommend. And for all its faults, it remains an incredibly easy recommendation because even though it's an 80s film, everyone still loves Arnie. Danny DeVito is arguably more popular now than he's ever been. They're wonderful on screen together. I don't think anyone's going to cut. Like, if somebody came back to me and went, that film's fucking shit, I'm like, well, that kind of might be your problem. If, as a podcast, you want to sit here and I'm watching it in a slightly different way, all of a sudden you're like, if you want to pick holes in this film, there are plenty of holes to pick at. But as I said at the top of the podcast, the important thing is This movie is super charming. It's incredibly likable. And despite all its faults, it just washes over you. It doesn't outstay its welcome. Don't ask too many questions. You'll have a great time. So for me, 3 and a yes.
So it's a 3 and a yes. It's an easy recommendation, really. I mean, as you said, it washes over you. It's not terrible. It's not great.
Oh, no, not at all.
It's fun to watch. So
I would go as far as to say it's good. And I think if you asked me for the review on this in like the early 90s, I'd probably say it's a 4. There are elements of this film which have aged, both good and bad. But going back to what, like, it almost seems like I'd be too much of a fanboy saying, there are 4-star films I haven't enjoyed watching as much as this, but if I'm watching this with a critical eye, it's a 3-star film. And if you go back and look at the original reviews, they're mixed, the critical response to this film, and I get it because it's a flawed film. A flawed film, but it is, as we said multiple times, it is a fun one. So 3 and yes for me as well. I totally knew we'd agree. If ever I was sure that we were going to be on the same page going into a movie, I think Cash Money were both giving this a 3 and a yes. So yeah, that's been 1988's Twins. Next week, sir, it's your choice.
Yeah, mine. So I got the pop quiz for you. So 1994.
1994. Pulp Fiction.
Oh, no.
Forrest Gump.
No.
We're going to go with Arse Rape and Shawshank Redemption.
No.
Okay. No, just be clear, Shawshank Redemption is much more than an arse rape movie, just to be clear. It's very good. Okay, you're asking me something more.
I know. I don't know if I want to go for the director or the star because you'll get it straight away. Right. So, Jeff Daniels.
Jeff Daniels. Speed?
Yeah, boy.
Ah, awesome. Yeah, because if you'd said Jan de Bont, that would have been an absolute giveaway.
Or the tagline "Get ready for rush hour."
If it was surprising that it took us 174 episodes to cover Twins, it's almost unfucking believable that it's taken us 175 episodes to cover Speed. That's insane.
I know, it's mad. I was a bit unsure if you were going to get it when I said I got the pop quiz for you. I thought, here we go. Actually. Yeah,
that's pretty good. I mean, I haven't seen this for a few years, but I will be amazed if this is anything other than utterly amazing still. I mean, Keanu Reeves, Sandra Bullock, Jan de Bont acting like a fucking lunatic behind the camera. One of the great movie premises. Still looks fantastic. I mean, I am so looking forward to rewatching this.
I think it's going to have its problems that obviously 30 years later, but I don't know. I remember really enjoying this film, and I suspect it's great.
I suspect it's going to have the same problem it always had. It opens well. Then for about an hour, it's a nearly perfect action movie, and then it doesn't quite know how to finish, and the ending's a bit whatever. Kind of like this film, not the same as this, but the ending is maybe the weakest part of the film. But like I said, there is an hour in this film. Basically, when they're on the moment Keanu gets on that bus, for an hour, it is fucking gold. Because plot be damned, we're just on the bus with these super likable characters, some really cool supporting cast members as well. We will pick holes, maybe in the start, definitely the ending, but I'll be surprised if we're not kind of, having something of a semi about the.
I think we're going to be having some. I think we're going to be having some fun with this one, so I'm really looking forward to.
I wish I had said that we're going to have a semi about the hour on the bus. It's too late to retract that, but it's out there, I guess. Never mind. But then you did say snail trail earlier, so at least it's the second less. It's not as disgusting as what you said, but hey, let's move on.
Yeah, well, you got the video game section wrong, so fuck you.
Okay, fair enough. Any other business before we wrap this up?
No, nothing today, mate. So that's it, really. Just thanks for listening, as always.
All right, cheers, guys. I've been Liam. He's been Rob, and you've been listening to the Hey Guys podcast. Catch you later.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Oh, and before I forget, where can folk reach us if they were so inclined to?
Well, you can actually reach us on Hey You Guys 80s at Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. But if you want to send us a mail, do heyyouguys80s@gmail.com. Send us in your recommendations. Send us in your thoughts about any of the episodes. Just literally talk to us. We'll have a one-sided talk with you on the podcast.
Yeah. We're nice folk. Get in touch. But no, cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.